The airlock hissed open with a faint whine, and the 5-character research group of archaeologists stepped out onto the dusty surface of the remote planet. Their challenge: to discover and file the historical alien ruins that have been determined a long time earlier, however remained untouched and shrouded in thriller. As they suited up and started out the long trek across the barren landscape, the lead researcher, Dr. Sarah Morgan, couldn't shake the sensation that this excursion could be distinctive. She became to her second-in-command, Dr. Emily Lopez, and smiled. "You recognize," she said, "I've been dreaming approximately these ruins for months. I can't wait to eventually get a more in-depth appearance." Emily again the smile. "Me too, boss. But let's not get in advance of ourselves. We nevertheless have an extended manor to head." They persisted in silence, their boots crunching against the rust-colored soil, the occasional rock skittering across the ground. The sun beginning to set, portray the sky in colors of orange and pink, once they sooner or later noticed the towering spires of the ruins within the distance. As they drew nearer, the historic structure loomed larger before them, its walls impossibly tall and intricately carved with symbols that none of them should decipher. The air appeared to crackle with anticipation as they installation camped for the night time, every member of the crew lost in thought, taking into consideration the mysteries that lay before them. Dr. Morgan, unable to sleep, located herself wandering over to a nearby outcropping of rock, tracing her fingers over the strange symbols etched into its surface. She shivered, feeling a sense of awe and dread wash over her. "We're truly right here," she murmured to herself. "We're sooner or later going to discover what came about to them." With renewed willpower, she returned to her tent, crawled into her snoozing bag, and drifted off to sleep, dreaming of alien worlds and the secrets and techniques they held. The next day, the crew break up, each member taking a segment of the ruins to record and discover. As Dr. Morgan surveyed the region she'd been assigned, her coronary heart raced with pleasure. The alien language became in contrast to some things she'd ever seen earlier but she changed into decided to decipher it. She knelt down beside a specifically elaborate carving and ran her fingers over the abnormal symbols, feeling a connection to the long useless civilization that had created them. Hours exceeded, and as the solar began to dip underneath the horizon, she made a step forward. One of the symbols appeared to healthy a glyph in a simple alien dictionary she'd been using to try to study the language. Jubilant, she stood up and shouted to her teammates, who had been running nearby. "I suppose I've observed it. I've observed a way to talk with them." Dr. Lopez, who had been operating nearby, hurried over, her eyes shining with exhilaration. Really? You're positive?" As sure as I can be," Sarah answered, pointing to the carving. "See that image? It's similar to this one in the dictionary." Emily leaned in nearer, analyzing the symbols. "That's outstanding, Sarah. This may want to change the entirety. We may eventually study who they have been, what happened to them." Her voice trailed off, and she or he looked up at Sarah with a newfound recognize. The rest of the team gathered around, their eyes extensive with surprise and disbelief. Dr. Morgan took a deep breath, trying to consistent her racing heart. She reached into her pocket and retrieved a small handheld tool, the dimensions of a telephone, that were changed to transmit radio alerts within the extraterrestrial being's language. "All right," she said, her voice trembling barely, "let's see if they're listening." She keyed in a message, praying that it would attain whoever or anything become on the other quit. As she pressed the transmit button, a faint hum stuffed the air, and the organization held their breath. For what appeared like an eternity, nothing came about. But then, as all of them stared on the massive spires looming above them, an unmarried, exquisite light flared to life, bathing the ruins in an otherworldly glow. The mild pulsed 2 times, after which diminished away, leaving them all status there, mouths agape, as they struggled to realize what had simply befell. Dr. Morgan grew to become to her team, her eyes shining with determination. "They're speaking to us," she said quietly. "They're simply speaking to us." And with that, the adventure of an entire life had certainly all started. Dr. Lopez set free a shaky breath and leaned towards a close-by stone pillar for assist. "This is remarkable," she murmured. "We've made touch with an alien civilization. We virtually have." Her thoughts raced with questions. What did they want? How would they react after they discovered about humanity? Were there different races out there as well? Emily felt a chill run down her backbone as she watched the spires maintain to pulse with mild. "Do you think they may be seeking to speak with us?" she asked, her voice slightly above a whisper. "Or are they just letting us know they're right here?" Dr. Morgan took a breakthrough, her gaze fixed on the spires. "I do not know," she responded. "But we want to find out. We need to establish a dialogue and study as tons as we will approximately them." With renewed cause, she became lower back to her group, her expression resolute. "All right, all of us. Let's get to work. We're given an entire new global of discovery anticipating us." As the crew scattered over again, every member returning to their section of the ruins to report and explore further, the air turned into thick with exhilaration and anticipation. They knew that the following few days, weeks, even months could be full of demanding situations and revelations as they delved deeper into the mysteries of this alien civilization. But for now, they had been content to stand together beneath the pulsing mild of the spires, their hearts filled with hope and marvel. Dr. Lopez found herself interested in a particular phase of the ruins, in which a massive, intricately carved archway towered over them. She knelt down beside it, strolling her arms over the sensitive engravings, feeling an experience of awe and reverence wash over her. "This is past anything we've got ever visible before," she murmured to herself. "It's like not anything we ought to have ever imagined." Emily wandered off, her mind spinning with questions. She paused beside a crumbling wall, brushing aside free stones to show a hidden alcove. Inside, she located a chain of strange, cylindrical objects, each one embellished with the identical image that they had seen at the carving and in the dictionary. She cautiously picked one up, feeling its easy, cool surface underneath her fingers. "What are these?" she questioned aloud. "And what do they mean?" Meanwhile, Dr. Morgan and Dr. Lopez had installation a makeshift laboratory near the middle of the ruins, wherein they might analyze the numerous samples they'd accumulated. They labored tirelessly, poring over records and evaluating notes, their eyes in no way leaving the monitors of their devices. "I can't trust we are honestly doing this," Dr. Morgan said, her voice hushed with reverence. "We're speaking with a wholly one-of-a-kind species. It's almost too much to realize." As the day wore on, the mild from the spires began to vanish, and the group accumulated round a crackling fire they'd built in the center of the ruins. They shared stories of their discoveries and speculations, their voices growing and falling like waves in the darkness. Around them, the ruins loomed massive and mysterious, like historic guardians looking over their newfound treasures. And as they sat there, lost in communication, they knew that their lives might in no way be the same again. "You recognize," Dr. Lopez stated, her eyes constant at the dancing flames, "I hold thinking about what this means for humanity. For absolutely everyone. We've constantly wondered if we were by myself inside the universe, and now we recognize we're not. We're part of something a great deal, a lot large. She paused, taking a sip from her mug of hot chocolate. I surprise what they think of us, she mused, her voice barely above a whisper. I wonder if they may be as curious about us as we're about them. Emily, who were staring closely at the carvings on the archway, spoke up. I preserve thinking about the dictionary we located. It's like they left it here for us, as a guide. A manner to begin communicating with them. And now that we've got deciphered some of it, we're one step closer. She glanced round at her fellow team members, their faces illuminated through the flickering firelight. I can't wait to see what else we will find. Dr. Morgan smiled, her eyes glowing with pleasure. I understand exactly what you suggest, Emily. The opportunities are countless. We may want to research so much from them, approximately their way of life, their history, their technology. And who is aware of? Maybe we will discover a manner to virtually speak with them at once. It's a brilliant notion. She took a deep breath, letting it out slowly. But for now, she stated, nodding towards the ruins, let's experience this moment, let's? The others nodded in settlement, their faces illuminated by the nice and cozy glow of the hearth. Around them, the sounds of crickets and the distant howl of a wolf crammed the night air. The stars twinkled brightly overhead, as though in silent agreement with the awe and surprise that coursed via their veins. They sat there for some time longer, misplaced in thought, misplaced inside the moment, their hearts filled with the information that they had been part of something an awful lot larger than themselves. And as they stared into the flames, they knew that this turned into best the start of an outstanding journey. As the hours exceeded, Dr. Morgan rose to her toes and stretched, yawning loudly. Well, I suppose it is time all of us got some rest. We've got lots of paintings in advance, folks, the following day. Who wants to volunteer for first watch? There have been a few murmurs of agreement, and then Emily raised her hand. I'll take it, she stated with a yawn. I should use the sparkling air anyway. The others nodded their approval and started out to disperse, finding places to sleep for the night time. Emily, but, remained at the back for a second longer. She walked over to the archway and ran her arms gently over the carvings, as though trying to memorize every element. Then, with a deep breath, she grew to become and walked off into the darkness, her flashlight bobbing in advance of her. As Emily settled in for her watch, she couldn't assist but experience a feel of awe and responsibility. She turned into the primary individual in her team to be on my own with the alien ruins, the first to revel in the mysteries they held without the distractions of her colleagues. She leaned in opposition to a nearby pillar, her eyes constant on the spires above, and questioned what secrets and techniques they might screen to her all through the lengthy, quiet night time. The air became cool and nonetheless, and the only sounds have been the distant hoot of an owl and the rustle of leaves as they danced inside the breeze. Emily shivered, pulling her parka nearer around her. She wanted she had introduced a blanket, but it changed into two pas-deux now. She tried to distract herself from the cold by inspecting the carvings on the pillar she was leaning against, tracing the complicated designs with her fingers. Time seemed to slow down as she studied the ancient markings, and she or he felt as if the ruins had been speaking together with her by some means. It was as though they have been saying, "You belong right here. You recognize us. You are part of this." The notion each thrilled and terrified her. She questioned if the others felt the identical manner. As the night wore on, Emily began to sense drowsy. She fought against the urge to close her eyes, understanding that she had to stay alert. She walked around the perimeter of the camp, ensuring that the entirety turned into secure. The stars above her seemed to twinkle brighter than ever, as if they have been looking to hold her business enterprise. She puzzled in the event that they have been the identical stars that had shone down at the alien civilization that had built the ruins so many years ago. It changed into a concept that sent a shiver down her backbone. Finally, with a yawn that she could not contain, Emily made her manner back to the campfire. She should pay attention to the soft snores of her teammates as they slept, and she or he envied their capacity to shut out the world for some precious hours. As she settled down subsequent to the fireplace, she wrapped her palms around herself and watched the flames dance and flicker, listening to the distant sounds of the jungle around them. She knew that when she finally fell asleep, it would be with the memory of these stars and those carvings etched deeply into her thoughts, a reminder of the wonderful journey that lay in advance.